All right, so if you're an e-commerce brand, you can potentially save thousands of dollars each month while increasing your odds of landing in the primary tab by just having really good email list hygiene. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that on Autopilot. So the main key here is that you want as many people on your active email list as possible to be engaging with your emails, and preferably many of them are actually buyers of your brand. So for example, if you have 250,000 active subscribers on your list and only 30 to 50,000 of them actually engage on a consistent basis, your list is filled with garbage subscribers. And in this situation, you can't sit here and tell people that you have an email list of 250,000 people, because 200,000 of them don't even engage with the actual content. So in order to actually clean these people out of your list on Autopilot without having to manually do a bunch of stuff, you're going to need to set up a sunset unengaged flow. And in this video, I'm going to give you the bare bones exact way to set that up without any fluff. Let's get right into it. So here's how to set it up. First, you're going to create a segment in your Klaviyo account of people that haven't engaged with any emails in the last 60 to 120 days. And the amount of days here really depends on how regularly you send emails to your list and how severe the segmentation is. So right here, you've got an example of what your sunset unengaged segment might look like. Just so you know, we're going to get into this in a second in more depth, but this is an example of what your sunset unengaged segment might look like. You're going to have person is not suppressed for email, so that shows that they are an active subscriber. They've opened email 0 times in the last 90 days. So here we said 60 to 120 days. For this example, we have 90 days used here. So open email 0 times in the last 90 days. Clicked email 0 times in the last 90 days. They've received email at least 12 times in the last 90 days. We'll get into that. They've placed order 0 times in the last 45 days, and they've been active on the website 0 times in the last 45 days. So you could just copy this one, but it really does depend on a few different factors. So there's a few things to note here, so we'll get into those now. Number one, the time frame that you choose for opened email and clicked email and received email as well could be more like 60 days, or it could be longer, like 120 to 180 days. This really just depends on how aggressively you want to filter those people out of your list, but 90 days is probably a good starting point for most brands. And if you realize that you're suppressing too many people every month, it's better to maybe increase that number, or maybe if you feel like you're not suppressing enough inactive people, then you can drop that down to like 60 days. But this also has to do with your buyer time horizons, which is really important here. If people aren't meant to buy your products very often, then you're probably going to want to send less emails, and you might span this time out longer. So you might even have this time frame as more like 180 days, so like 6 months, if your buyer time horizons are way longer, meaning people don't buy your product very often. So therefore, they don't feel the need to engage with your emails as often. So that's the first point. The second point is that the number of received emails should be about half of the total amount of emails that you've actually sent in the last 90 days. For example, if you send 2 emails a week, so the whole list might receive 2 emails per week, that's 8 per month, which would be 24 over the last 90 days. So you might choose 12 to 15, which is a little over half of 24, for the received email portion, because that's actually how many emails these people are receiving. So the next part of this is that the placed order rate and the active on-site timeframes, the last 2 filters right here, these should be exactly half of what you choose for the timeframes of the other filters. So for this example, we are filtering out, or we're choosing people that have opened or clicked 0 times in the last 90 days. So we also want to make sure these people have placed order or have been on the site 0 times in the last 45 days. If they have, then they're not going to be in the segment. So that's some background on the timing. I hope that helps with that part and actually creating the segment for this flow. The next step is to create the flow, and it should be triggered when people join that segment that we just discussed. So in the flow, this is the actual sunset unengaged flow, and its purpose is to essentially vet people out so that if they actually are unengaged, we suppress them and we get rid of them off the list every month on Autopilot. But if they are still somewhat engaged or they're still interested, we want them to open or click an email in this flow so that we keep them on the list and we don't get rid of them. So anyways, getting into it. In the flow, you're going to want to create 2 to 3 emails. Preferably, these are plain text for a more personal feel and also for best deliverability because we want to make sure that we're getting through to these people without fail. So email 1, you can kind of offer them a discount to make sure that they join the brand again. We do this and it's actually very effective. Even though these people haven't engaged in a long time, just throwing a discount at them sometimes works well. We have one brand that does actually a lot of money off that every month. It's just a nice solid extra piece of change to come in every month while re-engaging people. Email 2 or email 3 if you decide to make this a 3 email flow, if you want to span it out a little bit longer. This one should make it very clear that this could be the last email that they ever receive from you. So, use language like literally say this might be the last email you ever received from us. In fact, I have an example here of a flow just built like this. So as you can see, the trigger is that when someone is added to this segment, which is unengaged segment for sunset unengaged, they then wait a day and then they get sunset unengaged 1. Subject line here is just it's been a while. Then they wait 2 days and then they get sunset unengaged 2. And the subject line here is this could be the last email you get from us. So you can literally use that language that I just told you right here. The next part of this is that if they open or click an email at any point in the flow, you want to have them leave the flow by using flow filters. So going back to the example here, as you can see, the flow, they're called profile filters now, but you want 2 profile filters here: open email 0 times since starting the flow and clicked email 0 times since starting the flow. Those are also listed right here. And then after email 2 to 3, depending on however long you made the flow, you're going to add a 2-day time delay to make sure. In this example, I believe we did 1 day. Let's go back and see. Yeah, so in this example, we did 1 day after the last email, but I prefer anywhere 1 to 2 days is fine, just to make sure that they have time to actually open the email before they reach the end of the flow. And then at the end of the flow, you're going to add an update profile property block with the Klaviyo flow editor that labels them as unengaged. So going back to the example, you can see they get to the end of the flow, this day has passed, and then at the end here, there's a profile property update, create unengaged as true. So now these people are tagged as unengaged on their profile. And then the last part of this is that you're going to create another segment. So keep in mind, you created a segment for the people that join this flow. This is another segment called unengaged, suppress these people. And then this segment is only going to include, you're going to create a filter on the segment that says all people that are active subscribers and that are tagged unengaged. And then at the end of every month, so maybe on the 1st of every month or the 30th, 31st, whatever it is, whenever you want, you're going to just export this list, this segment, and then suppress them. And it's that easy. All the rest is done for you. All you have to do is suppress them. And then the segment will go back down to 0 because the segment should have 2 filters. Active, they are active, and they are tagged unengaged. So once you suppress the segment, they'll no longer be active. So the segment will go back to 0, and it does it again the next month. And it does that completely on autopilot every single month, done for you. This keeps your list clean of all unengaged profiles, which helps your deliverability since you won't be sending people that don't interact with your marketing. And it cuts your Klaviyo bill because you're not paying for all those inactive subscribers. We actually did an audit, quick story, we did an audit for a really big brand that was using Klaviyo, and we saved them north of $2,000 to $3,000 a month just from implementing this quick and really easy mechanism. So I hope you got a lot of value from this. I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video where you can get this full deliverability doc. It has, I'll give you a quick sneak peek here. It's got everything that you could possibly need to know about deliverability. And sorry, we're not loading here, but yeah, everything that you could possibly need to know about deliverability is in here, and it's not holding anything back. So yeah, if you have any questions, drop a reply and I'll get back to you. But if not, hit that link in the description, get this full doc, 100% free. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.